this is the one I want to start with, though. This is the confused wife of the dude from whatever Redacted. Um, they apparently COVID was a plan. It was a big plan. Now, I don't think we have to watch all of this because I think we get it. Zombie hands, COVID, glow in the dark, giant COVID balls. Who hasn't had COVID balls at least once in their life? It's anyway. And the confused wife of a felon who fled the country. So let's see. Obviously, you and I had assumed all this time. What's wrong with it? We had assumed this whole time that it was a disease, and it was accidentally, or I suppose in her case, on purpose created and accidentally snuck out of a lab or what have you. And it would have killed lots of Americans. But luckily, we had this asshole running the place, and he stopped it cold, along with the migrants that were going to come here bringing it because they're dirty, filthy. They bring crime and COVID, and they're dirty and diseased, and we don't know why, and Title 42 forever. So we'll see. I want to hear. This has got to be. I love when we finally get the answer.
Well, how much of the pandemic was planned?
None of it. Is anything planning for a pandemic? Because if anybody even planning for the potential for one is sign of a pandemic, then I would say arguably the Boy Scouts are the most villainous group in the world because we, and I do mean we because I was one, have the old be prepared as our motto.
And are there clues that show us this? Well,
clues to the pandemic.
Redacted correspondent Dan Cohen found one kind of accidentally, and he's here to tell us all about it. So first of all, Dan, how did you find this? And take us through it, because it's quite
whatever it is
shocking.
Yeah, Natalie, I was doing research for a piece I'm working on about the lab origin theory, which I think fundamentally is some kind of psy-op. But
okay, so we'll clear that out. The idea that it was created in a lab is a psy-op because it's not a real disease. I guess is that what happens when you paint yourself into the corner where the whole thing is fake? So no matter what you find out or what cuts against that, you always have to fall back on your, at least to your premise wall that it's imaginary.
I came across this video that we are going to watch, which really adds another piece of evidence to the body of evidence, I would say.
That it's a psyop?
That shows that the COVID-19 response was planned out ahead of time.
Well, I mean, everybody's or just ours? Or, I mean, obviously there were some countries that definitely looked like they were winging it.
And we basically lived a premeditated plan. So everyone, of course, remembers Event 201. That's well known. The simulation of a pandemic held by Johns Hopkins University, the World Economic Forum, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That showed how a response to a supposed pandemic was gamed out. And then months later came to fruition. Well, so I've uncovered this video from...
How many months? Was it just a couple of months? Or, I mean, were they late to the game? Because I would think that if they were going to game that out for a giant depopulation scheme, you'd want at least a year of window to check your math. Fuck it.
The Council on Foreign Relations from June of 2019. Remember the
Fuck, I cannot. You know what? My American history is so bad. Who was president in June of 2019? Somebody, we'll look it up. Don't worry about it.
The Johns Hopkins University, the Event 201 piece was from October 2019. So this one actually
Yeah, even then, I mean, it's only a couple months, and I still don't know. It's weird.
It's it, 4 months. So this is from the Council on Foreign Relations from June 2019. Before we start, understand that the Council on Foreign Relations, or CFR, is the single most prestigious and influential Washington think tank. So the fact that this video was published by the CFR speaks volumes, and its corporate members.
Just for the record, if I may, before this dipshit starts, um, let's see, where am I going to find? Um, let's see. Um, yeah, that's the reason they might have felt the need to do this. I'm just floating this out there. Just that the timeline of June to October and that kind of deal might be might be that the uh, Chinese doctors that first mentioned COVID-19, or what they thought might be COVID-19, and who one of whom died from it, and the Chinese government covered it up. One of the reasons why you might game something out at that point is the fact that novel coronavirus circulated undetected months before the first COVID-19 cases in Wuhan, China. Study dates emergence to as early as October 2019. Simulations suggest in most cases zoonotic viruses die out naturally before causing a pandemic, right? Which is where their concern was, and why they might have been gaming the fucking thing out. Just they just might be, hey, are we ready for this? Because we thought it would be maybe a couple years down the line, but shit's getting real. Maybe. Okay. We'll see.
What represents are all the usual suspects, the mega.
Yes, all the usual suspects, which is anyone big. And by the way, who makes the gear they're using to put their show on the air.
Corporate entities that are basically more powerful than many countries.
Yeah, but California is more powerful than most countries on Earth. It's your fucking point. And by the way, please, actually, tell me which small countries you give a rat fuck about.
So it's a representation of this supranational elite. BlackRock, Bank of America, Apple, Google, Meta,
Hess. You're not going straight to Hess? I wonder why.
Facebook, Goldman Sachs. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, you're going to blow off Hess like that? Like, honestly, is that how they get through? Yeah? Is BlackRock just laying cover for Hess? And you dodge ExxonMobil? All right.
Pfizer is on the list.
Of course. I mean, you can't have a global pandemic unless you get everybody in on it. Obviously, how Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson managed to, I guess, game the system and get in on that sweet, sweet fake disease money, and yet still not be members of the CFR.
It has a massive donor list of billionaire venture capitalists.
Yes.
Including, of course, the Gates Foundation, among many, many others. So let's go ahead and watch this video from, again, June 2019.
June 2019. Fuck. Was it? Who was president? Was it Taft? Fuck.
Before the so-called COVID-19 pandemic began. It's
yeah. That, again, you'll notice the problem this asshole has is so-called. Like how do you have a lab leaked bioagent evil disease that you don't believe it actually is a disease? You know what I mean? Can you imagine arguing that the Germans didn't use mustard gas in the trenches? It was all just a misunderstanding, that they just gave German mustard to all their soldiers and they got gas from it. That's the corner this dickhead has painted himself into.
First, it's titled, What a Zombie Apocalypse Can Teach Us About Pandemics. And the description reads, what would happen if one day the dead rose up, hungry for human flesh and brain? This scenario has played out in movies and books for decades, but science fiction fans aren't the only ones giving some thought to the zombie apocalypse. The CDC, major universities, and even the Department of Defense have plans for the day the dead rise.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that That's not in the video from the CFR? Okay.
Not because they expect it, but because it serves as a useful intellectual exercise.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My bad. Then, yeah, see, I was expecting shit. I was hoping for a real play out of the zombie apocalypse, which could only last 3 days, unless, of course, if it's biochemical or alien or physical. In the physical, if it's supernatural, all bets are off. Obviously, we can have walking skeletons, Harryhausen style, where you're having to fight them off with a scimitar. But if it's based on any kind of biological agent where they zombify people and the dead are walking and that kind of stuff, it'll only last 3 days. I'm just saying, stay indoors for 3. It'd be a shorter lockdown than COVID. I'm just saying, we would have been back to work sooner had it been a zombie apocalypse. Just saying.
For infectious
I mean, it would have been psychologically, it would have been fucked.
disease and foreign policy. Although international protocols exist to prevent the rapid spread of disease,
yes, there are no international protocols for the dead rising from the grave.
each country's individual policies, infrastructure, and interests ultimately decide the course of any outbreak, including zombies. So,
including zombies. So, if you're going to write any legislation, look, whether you write it or not, it's going to cover zombies. So, okay.
CFR, CDC, Pentagon, and whichever universities they're referring to.
DeVry. Definitely DeVry. If there's a zombie apocalypse, we're all going to fucking DeVry, because those guys will figure out the kind of like catapults we'll need to, I don't know, chuck acid bombs at at the zombies in their hordes or whatever, create kind of like trap doors for them to fall through, create, I don't know. That I'm just going there. I'm just saying that anybody who's getting a poetry degree can go fuck themselves. But I'm going to DeVry in a zombie apocalypse for 2 out of the 3 days it will last.
We're not planning for a viral pandemic per se. They were planning a real military response for a fictional threat of a zombie apocalypse, or in order to make people think that a virus would be equal to a zombie apocalypse. So let's get started with the video,
which I think played out exactly in what we saw. Because who can forget? I still have nightmares about it. Remember when the people were going to the store and getting all the toilet paper, and there were the guys out front strafe shooting them because they could or they might be infected, and you can't take any chances.
Okay.
Zombies, the flesh-eating, brain-hungry monsters that ravenously attack the world.
As an analogy for communism, by the way, in the old ones anyways. New ones are about rampaging poor people with AIDS. But we'll get to that.
Till everyone is infected.
Well, except the one guy in the attic who's, lonely.
Could such a frightening science fiction disaster actually happen? As far-fetched as it seems, according to what we know from lore and canon, zombieism would work the same way as infectious diseases like SARS, Ebola, and the flu. Once a person gets infected, they pass it from person to person via close contact.
Yeah, but that close contact does not involve them biting into the skull of that person or, eating their entrails while looking up to the side and letting it all drip out to, give you a nice shock.
So they're comparing SARS, Ebola, and
yeah, we saw that. They're just about they're comparing the contraction part of it, where one person is passing it to another person.
the flu with zombieism. First of all,
there is no such thing as zombieism. There's no, insofar as I know, I'll give him a clue. Fuck it, just telling him communism, right? Communism in its own way is zombieism. You don't need to make up a new term. We already have one. Also, I want to remind any of the viewers of Redacted or the people who watched this video in its original form, zombies eat brains, so you have nothing to worry about.
all very different viruses. The flu is a seasonal respiratory virus.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's like a it's like a recurring zombie apocalypse that just a mini zombie zombettes we call them.
that everyone has had many
Ooh, yes, everyone's part zombie.
times, and the treatment, as I don't know, any parent knows, or anybody in general, is rest and fluids. You get the flu, you stay home until you're better.
Right.
Yeah, that all doesn't apply to tuberculosis though, if you'd notice, or AIDS, or any of the hepatitis diseases, or I'm just saying a nap isn't gonna fix Ebola. You're bleeding from your eyes, your ass, and your ears. Maybe a lay down is in order. Not on the couch though. You're gonna dissolve. So can you lay down on the tarp? The rest of us will be upstairs screaming.
And Ebola, right? Ebola is not contracted the same way.
Yes, you're right. It's you don't sneeze and catch Ebola.
Don't. It's not the aerosol droplets hanging in the air like the flu or a respiratory.
No, it's much closer to, say, 28 days later, where it's drops of blood and actual blood, and bodily fluid contact. We know. Yeah. We're aware of that. It's one of the reasons why we haven't had a giant Ebola outbreak. Why it sort of stops. That, and of course, as you well know, that Ebola is actually the vengeful spirit of the jungle, reclaiming lives that have been taken from it. If you kill too many wild animals, it will reach out with its tentacles, kill some people, and warn you, and then retract back into the... We're not playing that game? Okay, fine.
Virus. It's transmitted through blood and bodily fluids.
Yeah, you should list them.
So the fictional threat of zombieism, of course, is completely different than any of those. But
no, it isn't. It's exactly that. They bite you, you get bit, and then the transmission of it comes from their blood. The dude, have you seen 28 Days Later? For fuck's sake, a drop of blood from a bird eating an arm hit the guy in the eye, and 28 seconds later, the dude's fucking trying to eat his daughter. Ugh. You know what I mean?
There we have the CFR video equating all of them.
No, just that transmission between diseases comes via some form of contact. You fucking moron.
Well, what they're doing is giving us the idea that our bodies are weapons. And
yeah, that's what I took from it. Yeah. I mean, granted, mine is. There's lightning supposed to come out. Maybe there's too much electronics around, I think. Or maybe I've been watching Big Trouble in Little China too much. My body is a weapon. All right.
that we cannot be sure
Also, it's not the size, it's how you use it.
of what we're passing or contracting. That's what they're weaving through.
Apparently, she skipped the entire AIDS crisis, where you're like, to quote Albert Brooks, they keep telling us on Earth that every person we slept with, we're like sleeping with everyone they slept with, like 10,000 people.
This thing that, yes, we should not equate. That's crazy.
This guy's going, I've had gonorrhea.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
No, not exactly. That's how but it's one of the... Have you ever seen like old military videos, like movies they used to play about loose women? Stupid. Doc, I have a burning and it won't go away. You've contracted a social disease. You mean this disease is gonna party? Yes, it is. In your pants. Doc, something is wrong with me. You've been on the wrong side of the tracks again, haven't you, Gary? What told you that? Oh, God. Is there a salve? No, I'm sorry. We're just going to have to cut it off. Why?
So let's keep going.
Okay.
Yeah, let's keep going before we realize how stupid we are and how we're just kind of moving back to a time. Why don't we just fuck off the entire modern era of medicine where we understand that diseases are contracted via virus or bacteria and go back to when we thought it was the ethers? Shit.
As with any newly emerging pathogen, the search for a cure would be complicated.
Right? Yeah. And it's green, whatever it is. Obviously, let's see, Hulk juice or Hulk pants juice? We don't know.
Since its origins would likely be a mystery.
So, of course, they'll need a pharmaceutical product supposedly to combat this disease, which is
Yeah, they're going to fight it with fucking science instead of going to the old tried and true, find a couple of rattlesnakes and dance around singing a hymn. And oh, God. They're going to try and solve a scientific problem with more sciencing. And where's that going to get us? What's up, Frankenstein?
done, which is of unknown origin to this day, right? Starting to sound familiar. Does this sound familiar to what's been going
No, we know the origin of it. The question is, was it natural or was it because of gain of function research? And the Chinese are being very opaque about it. So technically speaking, it's of unknown origin. Unless, of course, we drop paratroopers into Wuhan and they bust into that fucking place and actually find files if they still exist, or interrogate people and hit them with the butt of a rifle and go, tell me what fucking happened. Tell me, you swine. Shit.
on
Yes.
and what has gripped the media for, I don't know, the last 3 years to
Yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, we've relaxed quite a bit.
this very day.
Yes.
It's gripped the media. Yes, it was a good. It's given the media a reach around.
Absolutely. It's like we're reading a script that we lived.
Exactly.
No, I mean, also, how is this different from fucking polio? Or, I, I, I mean, the initial antibiotics, I think, are an inversion of this. That the diseases just went unchecked forever, and then somebody discovered a way to push back, I suppose, on this after the fact. But they're like, this fucking dude and his moldy oranges trying to play God.
Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah, let's please, because I don't know how much more I could take.
Scientists believe the risk of such a devastating scenario is growing larger. People are building homes in new areas, living and working near unknown insects and animals, which can carry new unknown diseases, increasing the chances of a deadly outbreak.
Yeah, that would be all the like bat viruses coming out of China because of the expansion of the. Now, that, obviously, at this point, the CFR, bless their hearts, thought that the buildings that were being built in China would actually have people in them instead of just falling over after a couple of years empty. But still, it's a genuine concern if you take people. Is she the bird from? This guy sounds like the narrator from Scooby-Doo.
That could possibly spread around the world.
The big purple world. Look at that.
So this idea that urbanization, basically cities expanding into natural areas where these wild viruses that we've never encountered are lurking and then causing pandemics. I remember this being promoted early on as an explanation that urbanization causes pandemics, and as if urbanization is this brand new phenomenon.
No. The urbanization, obviously, they're talking about parts of Central Africa, China specifically in this case, it would seem, because the last two animal viruses that cascaded across the world came from there. So, they're understandably nervous. MERS, I suppose, Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, which had to do with the, more like the interaction part of people being close together, where that kind of came in and then spread to a big population center. But they're not trying to kill the fucking suburbs, dummy. You'll still be able to take your dog for a walk.
In, the last, 20 years or something?
Right.
Here's
Yeah. Look at the urbanization in China versus the urbanization in the rest of the developed world.
Bill Gates, Gavi, promoting that same narrative. And if you search urbanization and pandemics, there are dozens of articles on this. So,
right, because I got news for you, fuckhead. When large groups of people who are spread out over a big space all get close together, contagion is a factor you have to watch out for. It's just because life, finds a way.
I don't know. It strikes me as a little bit odd that that narrative.
It strikes me a bit odd that normal reason seems to panic the both of you. I mean, both of them do look like they just graduated from high school, but you can't be that fucking stupid and tie your shoes without hitting your head on the dresser, right? What?
Was in this video and then was promoted early on at the beginning of the pandemic.
Right.
Such a disease wouldn't adhere to borders or politics.
Okay, so such a disease, such a virus would not adhere to borders or politics, except that's not what happened. The Canadian scientist, Denis Rancourt, has shown through studying excess mortality
that maggots got it and died from it more often because they wouldn't get vaccinated. I'm sure that's where you're going.
that whatever was killing people did, in fact,
Whatever was killing people
respect borders. In other words, it
did respect borders. I'm losing faith in the reason of the Canadians.
wasn't a virus that was particularly deadly. It was the government response. Those
Yeah.
deaths were a result of policy. You can see that in maps he's shown of Europe, where in
Oh, is this motherfucker going to tell us that there were only 4,000 deaths in China? He's going to go there.
Spain, in certain areas of Spain, there were huge amounts of deaths. Meanwhile, in Portugal and in France and in Germany, there were not until later. So it's
Yes, because of how it spread and the interaction that they have with people who had it over their borders and how long it took to finally get to them. And then once it did, it spread like it spread everywhere else.
not the behavior of a viral pandemic. And similarly, there wasn't excess death in Canada, but there was excess death in a given period of time early on, all in areas in the United States.
Yeah, a country that is more densely populated and has, what, 6 times the population of Canada? And Canada has the land mass of the United States, or like plus a third. What is it?
And then you can see that by jurisdiction inside the United States, too, state by state, depending on which area
I don't know, the urban areas where people are close together. It took a long time for COVID to crawl out into the sticks.
is locked down. So that is not the behavior of a viral pandemic or
Yes, it is.
a zombie apocalypse.
Okay. Pause. Time out. Fuck this. Wait. Okay. Zombie apocalypse occurs. You got an option of somewhere to be when it breaks out. Are you in a big city where if one person gets bit, everybody on the block is a zombie by nightfall? Or are you out in the sticks where a zombie would have to hear you a long way off and make a long walk out there and find their way to you, and then they'd have to bite somebody, and that person would have to walk another 27 miles out into the middle of fucking North Dakota? Why do you think preppers move out there? You ever any preppers that move to like a 3-story walk up in Manhattan? In a zombie apocalypse, that's precisely, you can see them a long way off, you can avoid. Talk about social distancing. What do you fucking think the rural areas are? They are a permanent state of social distancing.
Right. Clearly.
Clearly. God damn.
It would require international coordination and decisive action.
Yes, if any zombie movie you've ever seen involves that kind of shit in the conversation. Also, swine flu, when not even passing to humans, just killed enough pigs that it required international cooperation. You chump.
All countries are legally bound to survey and monitor for disease within their borders. But many poorer countries simply don't have the infrastructure. And depending on where a zombie case was identified,
you could just hope that poor countries would eventually be empty before too long and we could just take everything that they have. Oh, sorry, that's not That's not the plan. That sounds very CFR, very Bill Gates. I'm just saying. These assholes don't actually want to save these people, do they? Nah, it's just surveillance. Surveillance state.
The reaction could be very slow,
Mm-hmm. Speaking of very slow, let's go back to the studio with our redacted team.
allowing ample time for the disease to spread. A country might even attempt to hide the existence of an outbreak for political.
I'd like to remind everyone that the analogy here could also explain the Catholic aversion to masturbation and how it could spread as well. We could be just as well watching a movie about how masturbation will catch on, and if it is allowed to move on unchecked, it will spread throughout the globe.
Or diplomatic reasons, perhaps to avoid disruptions in trade and travel, and try to contain it quietly, but with insufficient.
Yeah, which is exactly what China tried to do.
Attention to the issue, and with something as infectious as zombieism, a spread might be inevitable, and precious time for preparation while the outbreak was still nascent would be lost.
Is that not like the exact narrative we were told and continue to be told about China, that they covered up the virus and let it spread all over the world?
Excuse me, sir, excuse me. So-called virus? I mean, if you're going to pick a narrative, stick to it. I will watch any fiction if you establish the rules and you stay with them. Can't change the plot in the middle of this. Jesus Christ. You can't Sixth Sense your way out of this, you asshole.
And they even have like the picture of some like dictator. You know, I don't know if it's supposed to be Hitler or if it's Xi or what. But I mean, keep in mind the CFR represents not only big pharma interests and the military-industrial complex,
who, by the way, only make their money if there's people who don't want to die and people who will fight to stay alive. Which, in the case of a population-destroying virus, would cut out, I think, a large part of their customer base.
But just the U.S.
Honestly, who needs a vaccine when there are only 144,000 people left on the earth?
Power structure overall that sees China as this existential threat, and what better way to defeat it or smear it than to create the idea.
I see. Okay, so all of a sudden Redacted is on the side of the Chinese Communist Party, and that this was all created to smear them. That now we've shifted. We've moved from this is a control point to just, maybe it's, you know what? I take it back. Maybe it's a multi-tool. It's a Swiss Army knife conspiracy, because yeah, it's got a corkscrew, and you can smear China, and you can control the populace. And look at this. It's even got a nail file with 1984 written on it.
That it's responsible for this zombie apocalypse deadly pandemic.
Yeah, it's a bullseye for exactly what these power centers want.
What do they want? To not have everybody die from a disease from a authoritarian country that hides a pandemic, which, by the way, China had a history of doing already. I love how these assholes are like, history started January of 2020. That nothing occurred before that. We never had another SARS that came out of China that they bullshitted about. We didn't have a swine flu breakout or an avian flu breakout that came from China that they also fucking hid. Who produced the cartoon? Apparently the CFR put it out. Because that's how the Illuminati works these days. They dumb down their message for the masses to try and convey exactly what they're going to do, because it's an egotism thing. They're just slapping you in the face with their dick, and apparently that yuck says yum.
Governments with plans for such an event and first responders at the ready would fare best. But without professionals treating and instructing people how to interact with infected individuals or how to protect themselves, the disease could spread fast. Amid an outbreak,
right, which has been the case with avian flu and swine flu, and yes, we know polio. Fucking, like, how many times we're just gonna retread this same fucking ground and pretend we don't live in 2023? That's what's happening. Let's all go back to time before moldy oranges kept everybody from getting the clap.
WHO would deploy medical.
Well, cleared it up, I suppose.
staff and attempt to coordinate response efforts. But the WHO doesn't have the funding, staff, or resources to take the lead in halting a pandemic.
Doesn't have the resources, you say. Okay, where might one go and get those and grant themselves?
The American taxpayer, okay? Certainly not from China. They're not paying enough. We're paying way too much. We are paying way too. We need to stop paying because China is paying very little, so that very little can go into the WHO, because it should be fair, even if it kills us.
Emergency powers to do so.
Exactly. The World Health Organization to the rescue with the US and European government money, and the Gates Foundation. Bill Gates is going to be the hero to stop the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, we spent that money ourselves. We didn't. The WHO didn't become like the bottleneck by which we bought PPE or fought back against it at all. They're just an advisory group. But the process of tracking everything from a possible like aerosolized Ebola to wheat blight across the spectrum of disease that might come around is a $1 million endeavor, unless you want the entire economy to grind to a fucking halt again.
I mean, isn't that basically just what happened?
No.
Thank goodness for those power centers.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bill Gates.
Individual governments would have to mount their own initiatives.
Yeah, that's what we did. Yeah. Right. The idea is that WHO would be headed off at the pass, warning everybody beforehand so that they wouldn't have to spend all this, but everybody was like, fuck this.
Those countries would likely prioritize border security in their plan, regardless of WHO recommendations or law. They might lock down their borders and enforce travel bans to and from the center of the outbreak. And they might quarantine or isolate both actual and suspected zombies.
So there it is. They even put a wall cutting off China. They have like a giant wall to quarantine China. Somehow they knew.
No, China already has a wall, fuckhead. And so they're making the premise that China would create a wall. In this particular instance, the disease is I guess in this storyline came from the West, or from the Middle East, or from South America, and China put that wall between them and the rest of Europe, not the other way around. But anyways, please continue. It might just be a reaction to the Borat
that
movie.
China would be supposedly at fault for this pandemic.
Why? Because it's been at fault for the last 4? Where would... Shit.
Pandemic back in June of 2019, several months before any of this happened, and they knew that they would lock down and quarantine Europe. The CFR has like clairvoyant powers. It's uncanny.
Also, why is this hard to figure out? All right. There is, I gotta find this. Hold on one second. Let's see. There is yeah. Let's see. Let's see. There's a pandemic board game. Came out in 2008. And then there is where is it? There's a game called Plague. Yeah, here it is. Plague Incorporated. This thing. That's been out since 2012. And it follows like the natural reaction they would have, and you try to control it, and you fight to come up with a vaccine or a solution for it while it's spreading, before it spreads too far, and blah blah blah. Like this isn't new science. This isn't something that like all of a sudden they've come up with a whole different way to deal with this. There's only a few ways you can handle this. Here's the thing. I would love to sit down at a table. No, I would hate it, but I would sit down with a table with this dickhead and her and the fucking other guy from Redacted, her husband. So I'd just sit at a table with them and go, okay, you have a pandemic that is broken out. It has these traits about it. This is your time scale. What do you do? And you can't say, fuck it, I'm not doing anything. Because in this scenario, you are a government leader of some sort. You're a governor. You're a El Presidente. You're the prime minister. You're a monarch. Whatever the shit. You got to do something. Not doing anything is not an option because it will just roll over and kill you. And insofar as you know, that's the best information that you have. And you're like, I'll monitor it, and then I'll keep monitoring it and monitor it until it's too late. And again, operating on the idea that it's not a conspiracy theory, that you start with like, this is a real threat. How do you prepare for a real threat? Or do you even prepare for a real threat for fear that someone will think you are mocking up a fake threat? For fear of, conspiracies around Jade Helm and all this other shit and UN shock troops coming in. You cannot do any military games on any military bases or on any military, or on any, I guess, federal lands in the United States for fear that people will believe that you are going to turn forces upon them. What do you do when you're actually fucking attacked? What do you do? What is this? What is the argument? What are you arguing actually for? That no one prepares for anything, that no one tries to see a problem coming that is super fucking obvious. That at some point, even if it's 10, 15, 25 years down the line, if we're not prepared for it, it could wipe out everybody on the fucking planet. So why not be prepared?
Right.
Wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you could have just written this in the year 2023 in arrears, but to have this
In arrears. No, what you're doing is you're taking something previous, which dealt with a threat that had occurred up to that point multiple times already, and gamed it out like, what happens if this happens and it's really bad? What do we do? What do we do if it's shy of that, situation where other treatments work? What if treatments don't work? What if the treatments we have don't work? What do we do then? Do we just let everybody die? What if it only affects the developing world and the Western world and the U.S. largely and other, and Canada and maybe Mexico sits back and half the world's population, 3 billion fucking people, die. And we could have done something about it, but because of dipshits like this, we're not even allowed to game it out. We're not even allowed to think in terms of, oh yeah, there's a disease, and you know what? It only affects Latinos. For whatever reason, it was designed by somebody, or it's just a twist of fate, or it's a genetic thing that has someone, and it only kills Latinos. It's the only thing it does. In this estimation, they're basically making the case that white countries, or even black countries, or Asian countries should do nothing to prepare for a possibility like that in any way. And if they do, it's only because they're planning on creating that disease themselves to wipe out Hispanics from the world. That's it. That's
this before the pandemic. It's mind-boggling.
No, it isn't. It's completely normal. Can you imagine these fuckers looking at every car accident that, or like New Year's Eve drunk driving? So New Year's Eve, drunk driving accidents. That's the peak in the United States. It's true in other countries as well, but in the United States, that's the peak of drunk driving accidents. New Year's Eve. We've been dealing with they gamed it out several times. They looked at the spike that could be caused if you do nothing, and so they started a process of like telling people don't drink and drive. Buzz driving is drunk driving, blah blah blah, and they set forth a plan amongst the federal government and the states to combat drunk driving through messaging. That's it. And they did other things that were like governmental control. They set up checkpoints, local state, state police and sheriff's departments set up checkpoints to check people to make sure, not because they expect to find those drunk drivers in that, but to remind people, by the way, that, hey, we're looking. If any of you saw the movie Unbreakable, the one good M. Night Shyamalan movie in the last, 15 years, 16 years, there's a scene where the main character he's walking along and he brushes this guy and he gets this kind of psychic feeling the guy's got a weapon. And so he just feels that he's got a weapon. So he goes to the front of the line and they start we start doing pat downs. And they start patting people down. And he goes, people like to bring weapons in. People like to sometimes they bring in drugs. And if we pat people down, if he's carrying, the guy will probably jump out of line. And sure enough, they start patting people down and that guy goes and walks out of line because he's got a gun on him. And the point being is that the pat down is really about dissuading that guy, not that they actually think the people who are going through at that point are. It's similar also in California to Las Vegas on the 15 when you're driving to California. There is a pass through where they check for errant fruit from all the big farmland around Las Vegas. But the idea is that people like, well, you're driving through there. They're not waving through people. They're not stopping anybody. They're just waving them. Well, the truth is they know who they're going to pull over miles back. And they're also discouraging people who, know that thing is ahead of them for bringing too much contraband or trying to sneak other people, specifically this is about human trafficking, into California via that route. As opposed to the southern border and that kind of stuff. So it's one of the reasons they know ahead of time who they're going to pull over, but it also just driving through it discourages a certain number of people from giving it a try. That's how it works. This is a similar situation where, I'll run you back to what they were saying there real quick. Hold on. This bit.
I mean, you could have just written this in the year 2023 in arrears, but to have this before the pandemic, it's mind-boggling.
NGOs.
Okay, so they have it before the pandemic because it was after several epidemics. There is an epidemic of shit getting through, people being trafficked from, Nevada into California. So before it becomes an overt issue, we'll set up a checkpoint long time ago and watch for that. Anyways.
And aid groups would also spring into action, raising funds and sending medical staff to treat people. With numerous actors on the ground, it might be unclear who's in charge.
Does that not look like a reference to the loss of sovereignty or the voluntary handover of sovereignty by so many governments to supranational organizations like the WHO? Is that what they're referring to? That they're saying, like, we're even going to basically supersede your government? We're going to be above them, basically dictating what they have to do. Are they not saying it? Am I interpreting that wrong?
Yes.
No, they said it out loud. This was a plan.
Yeah, I that's what I heard as well. Instead of, as some countries just blow off all the warnings and other countries are locking down heavily and there's kind of a mismatch of information around everywhere. There's no consistency in it. People will wonder who's in charge, if anyone, and then the death rate will go up because people will panic.
Meanwhile, scientists and researchers would try to develop a vaccine or medication to halt the spread of zombies.
Excuse me, scratch or medication. We're only doing vaccines and only ones with microchips in them, okay? Okay.
But this could take months while zombies continue to bite, infect, and spread.
Okay,
these are dirty, dirty zombies.
That's exactly what we were told was happening with COVID. They said they had to fast track the vaccine. They were going to use emergency use authorization, and it would be a miracle, and it would be the silver bullet that would end the lockdowns and the quarantine.
And it did.
Quarantines and the mass.
I mean, obviously, I'm speaking as someone who is a microchipped zombie. It did.
Death, and then we'd move on to the new normal. So somehow
which went back to the same normal, except with these dickheads talking about how we should have never fixed polio.
CFR predicted it.
And here we are in that new normal.
And how did those injections, how did those vaccines, how did those medical products, pharmaceutical products actually work? Did they do what they were supposed to?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, they did. The Johnson & Johnson one would stop the spread of that particular strain because that was the version of it. mRNAs are faster to develop. You need a lot more years to do a traditional vaccine. That's why it was going to take so long. The mRNA, though, will keep you from going to the hospital and dying and stop your immune system from freaking out.
So there's that too. They somehow
Yeah, and by the way, like, I'm curious if either of them or both of them are vaccinated. I'm guessing she is.
They didn't predict that. That part was left out of the script, that it's
We were
actually
supposed to
not
have
going
full
to do.
faith in them. Right. Exactly.
Ultimately, researchers think that if a zombie plague actually occurred, few would survive. More people in richer countries might make it out alive, but poorer countries would be decimated.
Right, because zombies, just like pandemics, only affect poor countries, right?
Okay, fuckhead. No. No. Because you can hide in a glass building better than you can hide in a straw hut. Because wealthy countries have guns and flamethrowers and functioning militaries and functioning police departments and the ability to push back and fight it, whereas people in a refugee camp are fucked, you dummy. What's wrong with you? This is true. Look at AIDS in Africa, for God's sake. Look at malaria. Neither one of these assholes is worried about malaria. And for good reason. Holy
Only
shit.
the poor are susceptible to zombies that want to eat your brain.
These guys need to try harder.
So another hint that something entirely different actually happened than what they're blaming.
Was that me? Was that a dog bark, or did I make that noise? I'll be fine.
This on.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yes, and so are you. Yeah, I'm done. So this is indicative of a mentality